In this video, we're going to show you how to make a thin and crispy sourdough pizza. It's going to be the crispiest, thinnest pizza you have ever tried. Thin and crispy sourdough pizza. It's a bit like bread. More like bread than pizza dough is normally. So a few things that we're going to do are going to be a bit more like making a bread dough than making a pizza dough. The first thing we're going to do is take our scales and we're going to weigh out 290 grams of water onto our mixer. Pop on a dough hook. And here we've got 500 grams of flour. So this is 250 grams of double O pizza flour and 250 grams of strong bread flour. And we're going to add those to the water. So the process we're doing now of just mixing flour and water without any salt, anything else, this is called an autolyse, or an autolyse, or autolysis. Autolyse, autolyse, Autobots, Megatron, I don't know. But basically what we're doing is hydrating flour. And what happens when the flour and water mix is the proteins that are in the flour will start to break down and redevelop as gluten. And gluten is our friend with pizza, we know this, and bread. So you're going to want to scrape down the side of the bowl, just as per normal. After 4 minutes, so you can work it with your hand after that, just to bring it together. And you'll have a rough mix of flour and water. So cover this with cling film, leave it for 30 minutes. Magical science stuff is happening. Flour is hydrating with water and going to make us the most incredible thin and crispy pizza. While that is happening, we're going to dissolve some salt. So I've got 13 grams of salt and I've got a final 20 grams of water. This is just going to allow it to incorporate into the dough much easier. It can get quite grainy. Alongside your flour and water, they can both sit for 30 minutes and then we'll come back and make a dough. So our flour and water have been hydrating for 30 minutes, and during that time, that period of autolyzing, the flour is wet, all right? Our gluten has got strong and developed, and you can kind of feel it. And you just see that strength to it already? So now we're going to get in our sourdough starter, our leaven, our mother. If this seems confusing to you, and you're looking at me like, what is that thing in a jar? What are you doing? Check out how to build and maintain a sourdough starter, and you can build your own. It takes 7 days, but once it's up and running, it will last you forever. So we're just going to dampen our fingers and make some holes. So kind of like you were making a focaccia. And we're going to add 70 grams. So dampen your hands, just dampen your fingers a little bit, and we're going to kind of stretch the dough over the starter. So kind of pinch it in. So pinch the dough and the starter together and just kind of stretch it over the top. So just scrape down the sides so everything is nice and together. We want to be together. If you remember that, mention it in the comments below. It means you're old. Okay, we're just going to cover this with cling film and leave it for 10 minutes. 10 minutes have passed and now our starter has started to incorporate into that flour and that water. It's becoming one and the seagulls are excited. They're queuing up outside. Cling film is off and now we're going to go back to the mixer. Our salty water can now be added and we're going to mix this for around 2 minutes. And then we're going to add 40 grams of olive oil, okay? This is going to massively aid the crispiness. This is a proper American cracker crust, thin and crispy. This dough has now gone from being a normal dough to what is called an enriched dough because we've added fat, we've added oil in this case. So where we've added the oil to this dough, you'll notice you've got this kind of butter-like substance running down the side. This is going to make everything so crispy. This is the magic juice. So just give this a couple of folds. Okay, and then we're going to leave this just to rest for 20 minutes, and then we're going to come back, bring it all together, make sure all this buttery goodness is incorporated into the dough, and then we can start balling, and we're not far away from pizza. So our dough now looks like this. I'm going to show it to this camera, you can't see it. Looks weird, doesn't it? So back on the mixer, I'm just going to bring it together for 1 minute. It's just going to allow all the fat, all the oil that's kind of chilled at the side of the bowl just to reincorporate back into the dough. Pop the dough onto your bench, and all this stuff, this is the bowl, this is the dough. The dough's gonna go in the bowl, and then it's gonna be left for 2 hours. So just give it a quick shake. You can sit in this bowl, covered with cling film, 2 hours, and then we're gonna ball them up. Our dough, our beautiful, delicious, thin and crispy dough has been sat at room temperature for 2 hours. It is now ready to divide and be balled. So just scrape it out with your dough scraper, and the dough is going to be very soft. We're going to pop these dough balls into a tray. You can use any sort of flat tray. So we're going to divide our dough into 180 gram pieces. Much smaller than we would for most of our doughs. Just pull over and you'll feel it gets smooth. And just use the side of your hands and put it nice and tight. And if you pick them up, this bit at the bottom, we just want to seal shut. Very important we seal this shut. When you don't seal the bottom of dough balls, what that tends to do is create really thin bits, and you can get rips, air pockets, that sort of thing. And with a pizza that we're rolling out this thin, it's very important that it's sealed. So put over so you get the round, basic shape. Flip it over and just use the bottom of your hand, press down really firm, work it in a circle and pull the fingers in to make like a little cage. Dough balls, balled, 180 grams in a tray covered with cling film. I like to leave these at room temperature for a couple of hours or so, 2 to 4 hours, and then get them in the fridge for 48 hours, 2 days. That is going to allow all the fermentation to happen. They're going to be so packed full of flavour, your mind is going to fall out of your ear and land on your foot. Our dough has been sat for 48 hours in a fridge. I spent 48 hours stood here waiting for you to come back. Where have you been? 48 hours in balls in the fridge. We've then sat it at room temperature for about 2 hours. This just allows the gluten to relax. It's going to make it much easier to open our pizza. I've then tossed the dough ball itself in a 50-50 mix of semolina and 00 flour. That semolina is important. That's going to aid our crispiness. We're going to open this the same way as we would most pizzas really, except we are less concerned about keeping air in the crust. We're just pressing. And these bubbles that come up, these air bubbles that are kind of advantageous for the spotting that we get on Neapolitan pizza, we don't want that. We're just going to pop it out. See you later. And all the oil in this dough makes it quite a robust dough to work with. It's quite forgiving. Stretching, stretching. These edges that are a little bit thick that we don't want, we're just going to thin them out with a rolling pin. So grab yourself a rolling pin, and you can do the whole base to begin with. So we're just going to go all the way towards us, all the way away from us. Little 90-degree turn, and then we're just going to do the edges. So I'm just going to go around. I want thin and I want crispy. I want crispy and thin, hence the rolling pin. That's good, wasn't it? So now we can start topping. Just get a little bit more of your dusting underneath. San Marzano tomatoes and a little bit of salt, just hand blended together until smooth. And just use a spoon to spread it all the way to the edges. Got 2 types of cheeses. On our basic pizza, this is going to be really basic, tomato and cheese. Got some fior di latte and about the same of low moisture mozzarella. Okay, give the peel a dust, a generous dust, pour yourself on and just straighten up. And you need to get your fingers underneath because you can see the crust goes all the way to the edges. Give it a little shake, over to Roccbox and in we go. It's going to be in the oven for around 5 minutes. Roccbox is fully saturated with heat. Roccbox dial is set to around about 600 degrees, 300 degrees Celsius, and our floor temp, we turn that flame right down, so we're keeping that floor temp nice and low, kind of around the 350, 660 mark. And you can use the turning peel as well, just to kind of lift and see how crispy you're looking. Nearly pizza time. Pizza, pizza, pizza! So we want to leave it, oh, it's snapped. I went to pick it up and it snapped. That's how crispy it is. We can cut this pizza any way we like, into slices, however we like. I like to cut it into party cut, because I'm a party kind of guy. Or tavern cut. You might have heard of tavern cut or party cut, you might not have, I don't know. But essentially it's squares. Now we just need a party. Unfortunately we're socially distancing, so it's just a party for one. A Joe party. You're not invited, it's not safe at the moment, but when it is safe, you can come and you can join, and you can enjoy thin and crispy pizza. Okay, listen really, really carefully because seagulls are noisy. Okay, ready? All right, it's thin, no bend. You've watched the video, you've seen the pizza, now you can go and make the pizza yourself at home. Head to Gozney.com, get yourself a Roccbox, get the recipe online, and you too could be making crunch noises. Oh yeah. Hey boy, what's there boy? Seagulls.